All right, we're going to start. Okay, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the fifth virtual planning board meeting for the Village of East Hampton. Today is Thursday, September 10th, and it's 11 a.m. Our first order of business on our agenda are the minutes from our last meeting on August 13th, which have been previously distributed. Has everyone had an opportunity to have a look at them? And are there any changes or corrections that we would like to discuss? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Great, thank you. Minutes have been approved. I'm going to skip down our agenda to the adjournment. Before we get started, we have another letter submitted by Ackerman, Pachman, Brown, and Goldstein LLP, respectfully requesting an adjournment of the scheduled September 10th Planning Board meeting for 218 and 226 Further Lane, which we shall grant. If there are no objections to that, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, moving along, lot line modifications. 39 and 43 Georgica Road. Mr. Tarbett, if you could recuse yourself for this one, and John Tarbett, if you could turn all of your stuff on.
I'm recusing myself now.
Okay. We have a memo that was submitted by Billy Hayjack, dated September 3rd. Billy, could you just run through your memo for us? I know there was a couple things sort of at the end that I think we'd like to see on the maps.
Sure. So this is a pending application. It was previously submitted to adjust the boundaries between 39 and 35 Georgica Road, and it's been revised now to swap land between 47 and 39 Georgica Road. I won't go through the entire memorandum, but it's a little bit different than the prior application or the prior request. This actually does transfer 15,300 square feet of property from one lot to the other. It goes from 47 Georgica Road to 39 Georgica Road. It does square off the boundary between the two lots. Right now it's an irregular line, and the transfer creates more regularly shaped lots, which is generally perceived as a good thing. It does appear to be a better layout for both parcels. And it also yields a conforming setback for the existing garage apartment located on one of the parcels. So there are some benefits to the project. The one item I do note is that it appears the residence located at 47 Georgica Road would exceed the lot area. By deducting land area, it reduces the amount of allowable GFA, and I believe the house is going to exceed that allowance. So it does appear that a variance would be needed from the zoning board in order to proceed with the lot line modification. But overall, other than that, there doesn't seem to be any major issues with it. The map does have a few details that have to be added. They're just listed in my memorandum. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them. And it does need to be referred to the fire marshal just to determine whether or not any road improvements or access improvements are required.
Okay, great. Thank you. John, do you have anything you would like to add in reference to Billy's memo?
No, thank you, Billy, for the memo, and we've already taken care of ordering all the items he asked for. I guess the only question would be a procedural one, knowing that we need a zoning board variance for the GFA issue. Do we just make that application? Do they go first? Does the planning board go first? How do you want to handle that?
I think, Billy, what you just said, we would need the zoning board approval before the planning board can approve this. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't think the board could act on it if it necessitates a variance. I don't think the planning board can can legally act on it until the zoning board. So you'd have to go to the zoning board, secure the variance, and then come back to the planning board.
Okay.
I agree.
Are there comments from the planning board to the zoning board? Is there some sort of coordinator review where we would ask the planning board whether they have any concerns and have those comments sent to the zoning board?
I have a question.
Okay.
Does the deed of transfer of land from the neighbor need to be finalized before a variance can be granted?
We'll let Beth answer that.
The deed for the parcel, I'm not following what.
Land from the neighbor?
The neighbor in back, Oberon?
Yeah.
No, I think the answer is no. I think that it would be a condition of any
Right.
approvals that the deed.
Yeah.
Of the transfer.
Okay.
And the ZBA, the determination would be conditioned on the lot line modification occurring.
And to answer John's question, I mean, the planning board is certainly free to give the zoning board comments on the project. Because it's not a lot area variance, you're not obligated to provide the zoning board with any comments. If it were a lot area variance, then I believe you're actually required to give the zoning board a formal recommendation. But in this case, it's a gross floor area variance. You're not obligated to do that, but you certainly could if you wanted to.
It seems to me that we might, and that would ease the process.
If the board's if the board is looking favorably on the application, they're more than free to express that to the zoning board in a written memo or comments or however the board moves forward with those things.
Because I guess if I were on the zoning board, I'd want some sort of comfort.
I think that's the issue. I think in the past, some boards have felt that other boards would tie their hand. Like, in other words, if the zoning board were to grant the variance, maybe if the planning board didn't like the application, the zoning board may not want to grant the variance. Right. So I think the idea is that maybe, and I guess I'm thinking out loud more than I should be. But I think that if it's something that the planning board isn't objecting to, then maybe it helps the zoning board in their process to know that, as opposed to them shooting in the dark. I don't know. Just
Right,
I'd agree with that comment.
Yeah. How does the board feel about this this modification? To me, I think it's a lot better than the first go around, so I don't have a problem with it. How does the rest of the board feel about it?
No problem.
Good with it?
Okay. So Beth, who would write up some kind of memo if we wanted to shoot that over to the zoning board along with John's application? Is that something you do, or was that something?
I think Pam and I can work on something together.
Okay. All right. I think we should go ahead and do that. I think it'll make the process a lot easier. I think this board is in favor of the modification. So if we can make it easier down the road, I think that's what we should do.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, John, you're going to take care of the items listed on Billy's memo. Add those to the survey.
Correct. I'm wondering if it makes sense for me not to come back to I would just adjourn next month. If I suspect I will not have anything back from the zoning board next month. So maybe I don't come back to you until I have word from the zoning board.
I think that makes sense.
I agree.
And then Ken, you're just going to take a look at any kind of road improvements. I don't think this triggers FAR, but if you just want to take a look at it and prepare something for us.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else in reference to this application?
Not for me.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks, John.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Mr. Tarbett, you can come back.
I'm back.
All right. Okay, next on the agenda is the application for 35 and 39 Middle Lane. John, I see that you're here and unmuted and ready to go. We actually received a letter from John of Dayton Voorhees Balsam LLP, along with a revised survey from Saskis Surveying and a FAR drawing with drainage prepared by Drew Bennett. Billy and I did have a quick discussion yesterday, and I did revisit the site. I think Billy did as well. And one thing that did come up, which I was not aware of, and I should have been, so I apologize for that. There's a lot of existing vegetation along that 20-foot right-of-way, starting from Middle Lane, going back to the flag lot property. And I think I just want to make the applicant, or we want to make the applicant aware that that existing vegetation, which is, it's pretty mature vegetation, will have to be removed. The FAR road does take up that entire 20-foot width going back. So that's something maybe we should, the board and the applicant should talk about right now, just to make sure they're aware of that. I'm not sure the neighbor at 43 Middle Lane is aware of that. I know it screens out the property to the west really well. So I think that's something we should sort of talk about today. The other thing we'll have to do before we go too much further is submit the drainage and FAR road to the village's engineer for their approval. Ken, you may want to have a look at that as well. So, John, do you have any comments you'd like to make in reference to what I've just said?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to speak. The approval of the application is of the utmost importance to the applicants, and I believe that they will cooperate in every way with ensuring that the 20-foot flagpole section is properly cleared of vegetation to accommodate the FAR. If the board is inclined to do so, I would ask, and you know, just to properly memorialize the board's position, you feel free to include that as a condition of approval, that you know, it must be cleared of the vegetation. And I know that, so let me stop there. I don't want to get too far afield. I'll respond directly to your point.
Okay. Now, John, is the neighbor aware that that vegetation needs to be removed? I'm just wondering if we need to go for a public hearing on this or not, because I'm a little concerned about the neighbor. I did do a drive-by last night and did have a pretty in-depth look at that area in question, going from the road all the way back. And, you know, like I said, it is heavily vegetated. You know, I just want to make sure that the neighbor's aware, once that gets removed, it's going to be a whole different sort of aesthetic between those two properties.
It's an important point, Mr. Chairman. So I think there are two my instinct is giving me two responses. I think it's important for the applicant to confirm whether the vegetation is on its property or not. If it's within the flagpole strip, then certainly it's within the applicant's right to remove it because the vegetation is on their property. I think probably as a matter of neighborly accommodation, if the vegetation is not on the applicant's property, then they have to confer with the neighbor about the removal of such material. But based on the, I would say, for example, on the lot line modification map that was prepared by David Saskis, most recent version submitted on September 3rd, any vegetation that's in that flagpole strip that is on the client's property.
Hey, John,
John?
it's David Melgard and Georgiana Slade.
Yes, please, so you feel free to address.
Husband and wife, and we're the applicants. My wife, Georgiana Slade. We can add, I think, a bit of color to the board's question. That strip of vegetation, and there are some white pines on it, among other, and privet, overgrown, and yes, effective screening. But of that screen that, Bruce, you may have seen on your visit, part of that is our neighbor's 45, I guess, middle lane. Part of that's on our neighbor's property on their side of the line, and a relatively effective screen that they've placed years ago, mostly privet. They also constructed a bit of a berm on their side of the property. There will be screening. I'm not going to call it adequate or perfect because that's a matter of opinion, but there will be screening remaining there. But it has been part of our plan from the beginning to utilize that vegetated part of the parcel for the FAR. That is our flagpole. And in order to put the FAR in place, we will have to clear that vegetation. A small carport that's in existence, which will probably be a benefit to the neighbors. And indeed, we have notified all our neighbors that we are going to do landscaping and clearing. And of that flagpole, probably more than a third and close to half has been cleared, that strip. What you may not have been able to pick up from your visit is if you're at the beginning of the flagpole, close to middle lane, where there are some mature white pines, which my wife's father planted years ago with labor supplied by his son-in-law. That hasn't been cleared. We left that for the time being. Beyond the carport, which is about a third of the flagpole, that was all cleared without any acrimony between us and our immediate neighbors. And that was there were some wild cherry trees in there, mature, very large, shame to bring them down. There was a hickory tree, and there was some ailanthus and some other invasives, but it was all cleared without dispute, and indeed without greatly affecting the screening because of the existence of the privet on our neighbor's property. But if we don't clear that vegetation, we don't have a FAR.
Sorry, when was that clearing done?
The beginning of the summer, late spring, early summer. And it was part of a process in which a great deal of cleanup was done around the borders of this flag lot, the interior part and the flagpole. So again, half of the flagpole has been cleared. Our neighbors were notified of it by a letter that Georgiana put together, and we've not had conversations with them subsequent to a lot of action on a part of that flagpole already.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I add one other thing? Someone's phone.
Is that yours? No, it's not mine.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Bruce, I did have some email exchange with all four of my neighbors around the clearing part, and it was all positive, saying it was all very positive, and saying they appreciated because there were a lot of invasive weeds that were overgrown. My father was almost 93 when he passed away. And so a lot of the normal maintenance that someone would take care of had not been taken care of. So everything was very positive with them. And I emailed correspondence with 4, and of course my sister 5.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for that. I just wanted to make everyone aware that that was something that Billy had found the other day, and I went along and verified that as well. Okay.
Bruce, I want to say that I appreciate that you and Billy would note that the neighbor might be negatively impacted and be concerned enough to bring it up at a meeting such as the planning board meeting. We recognize that the owners of the property, they have certain rights, but it's nice that you and Billy noticed it and were concerned enough to bring it up.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Beth, I have a question for you. Do we need to go for a public hearing on this, or is this something that we can sort of waive?
The board can waive, if the board decides, the board can waive the public hearing, but you have to make that a formal, it should be in the minutes that the board has waived the public hearing. So
All
you
right,
should vote on it.
We need to vote on that. All right, how does the board feel about waiving the public hearing on this application?
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it also.
Oberon?
I'm not enthusiastic. I appreciate that the owner is saying that she has emails that the neighbor is fine with it, but I don't know that I'm okay with skipping that public.
I would entertain a motion to waive the public hearing on this application.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Yeah, okay. All right, so the vote from the board is we can waive the public hearing on this application. I think we still need to wait on, before we go full ahead, we need to wait on comments for the proposed Far Road plan and drainage from the village engineer, and also from Ken Cullum, just to make sure that flag strip is FAR compliant. And until then, I don't think we can. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah, just a quick. I have had the review of that road with the architect. We went through it preliminary, laid that out. I've had that in front of our fire chief. He is fine with it. I think he will author a letter to that effect that it meets the standard. So I think you're okay. We have to, unfortunately, because Drew is the engineer of record for the project, we will have to go to another engineering firm so that we don't have a conflict of interest. And once that's done, we should be in pretty good shape as far as the Far Road goes, as far as fire service is concerned.
Okay. All right. I think that's the only thing that's gonna hold this up. So let's wait until we get that information back, and then we can move forward with this. Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, board members, and thanks, Billy and Ken and everyone for all the hard work you did, and Beth reviewing and providing your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda is the easement driveway revision for 44 Hunting Lane LLC. We have received a letter from Giorgio Citarella with a revised survey from Saskia Surveying, just showing the addition of a dimension line that was added for the back left lot. I believe that's lot 1. We have also received the modification from Beth. Has everybody had a chance to read through the modification that Beth has prepared? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any changes to that? Okay, doesn't sound like it. So Beth, do we vote on that modification?
Yeah, so you'll have to actually, you're now adopting the resolution that's allowing for the modification and changing the
Perfect.
map.
Perfect. So can I get a motion to approve the modification resolution as written?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so carried. Great, thank you. With that in mind, I guess I will need to come into Village Hall and sign the map so that can get forwarded on to Suffolk County. Is that
I have reviewed the CNRs and the changes to the driveway easement and descriptions and everything is okay. So I'm actually going to forward a memo to Pam just to have it in the record that it's been reviewed, and then, but in the meantime, you're approved. The resolution itself approves you to sign the map, provided all conditions are met. I don't know if they had any other outstanding conditions besides the CNRs and driveway easement.
I don't believe there is anything outstanding. Billy, can you just comment on that? I think we have everything cleared up.
Yeah, no, I think it's all set.
Okay,
All right,
then they're good to
perfect. Great, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else they want to bring before us before we adjourn? No, I would entertain a motion for adjourning the meeting.
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you all.